Thank you for staying with me. My guest is still Dr. Macho Poku Pempe, who was the education minister. He became the energy minister and then became the running mate to the flag bearer of the NPP. We'll come to that and assess his role in the 2024 elections shortly. But let's talk about this current government for a second. They've read the budget. You've heard it.
The second budget?
The second budget, yes. Yeah, but there was even a mid-year budget review that was also read in July. What's your verdict?
On what, reading the budget?
On the budget, on the content. I'm pretty sure you've heard.
They've read the budget.
Yes.
Every government reads the budget.
I know. What's your verdict on the policy, the economic policy, and the agenda for 2026 as announced in the budget?
You have done a lot of reviews with a lot of intellectual events. Admittedly, I don't watch TV.
You don't?
I don't want because.
But the budget, you go to your constituency. I don't
like watching TV because I can't. I'm not good. I would rather read than watch TV.
So you don't have a view on the 2026?
So I'm just coming. So I'll read. So but you have you've interviewed a lot of experts on the budget, and it is not the budget that we read in Parliament. It's a budget and a socio-economic policy of government. It's slightly different.
Yeah.
So it's not only how much money I'm giving you to spend. It's what policies is the government going to implement. Right. And when you look at the 2026 budget, I'm struggling to see a new policy in that.
Why is there the struggle?
Because we have to admit it. The government is still under the IMF dictates they inherited. We faced the same thing 2017, 2018 till we could get out in 2019. So the IMF is looking at what you can do and what you can't do. Because you failed and they are giving you money for free, literally. And they want to, before they give you any tranche of money, you should have met a certain expectation, right? Which you can't. Once it's signed off, you can't go around it. That's why IMF can say that even the money you have generated in Bank of Ghana to help stabilize the city, if you don't stop, we will penalize you. Because as part of the thing, they were not supposed to do that. As part of the general agreements. I'm saying that I would really want to see the government. That's why the 24-hour economy in the two budgets, we haven't had any allocations.
Well, they have made allocation this year.
They made allocation to big push. But the 24-hour
they made an allocation to 24-hour economy specifically this year in the 2026 budget.
What was it for?
There was a line item that says 24-hour economy.
So
the finance minister is a setup. It's a setup.
You see.
The finance minister said it's a setup.
They're going to use it to set up offices.
100 plus million.
Offices.
Is a setup, the infrastructure.
The offices.
To allow it to take off.
Offices. Meetings. But I thought it liked the 24-hour economy policy document.
It was launched, yes.
You remember?
Yes.
And they couldn't attribute anything from the policy into allocations.
But it's only Parliament. It's only Parliament. This was launched post the media budget, and so you need Parliament. It's a budget that would articulate.
I just drew into it. Yeah. But think about it. The government runs a campaign on the 24-hour economy. That's its first budget, admittedly. Not much. No allocations. Every allocation that had been done in that March budget wasn't fulfilled. The government said, we are even finished. We are working on the document for the 2024 policy.
They've kept that promise in the 2026 budget.
And they went to launch a big fanfare. Fanfare doesn't make impact. I think in the conference center, with drums and everything, we all heard it. And they produced a book. And then months after they launched it, they come and do a budget. That is what? Putting your money where what?
Your mouth is.
Putting your money. And that document, there's not a single item in that document that was achievable, that should be achieved. That translated it into the 2026 budget.
There is. There's a line item there. 24-hour economy allocation of more than 100 million cedis.
So 24-hour economy policy document that they launched. Nothing from that. There were about 8 sections. Nothing of those sections was mentioned in the 2026 budget.
They didn't have to say 24-hour, but they've done as in their Greek sector.
No.
They're feeding Ghana.
You see.
They're putting a lot of money in there.
Let me tell you. let me tell you, government must demonstrate what it says through its policies.
Yes.
So you encapsulate all in free SHS, right? But it's up to the Ministry of Education to come and say, free SHS has feeding component, has textbook component, has uniform component, has lecturers, teachers component, has IT, and allocation should be made, right? So the allocation of free SHS is going to cost maybe 1.2 billion or something thereabout for 1 year. And if we launched free SHS like we launched, and in the government's budget, we don't see allocations made for the parts of free SHS. I just said, oh, the launching of free SHS, the total budget was 1.2 million, but I've put in 100 million for you to start work. So for the committee that met and did all that work, was it for free?
But there's also specifically more to the point you're making. They have a 6 billion plus allocation, for example, to the oil palm policy, which is really supposed to catalyze that whole industry and create areas of focus for oil palm that would generate wealth, but also create a 24-hour economy around oil palm.
How many years late?
Well, they just had a few months.
I'll try your mind. I don't want, see.
That is delivering on that.
When I'm talking about budgets and governments, and you hear NDC at one point say governance is continuum, and this and that and that. And when it comes to reality and their government, they do dramatically opposite. There was a presidential special initiative in oil palm that had changed
under
Kufo. Then we had started exporting. Mind you, the number one country in the world on oil palm is Malaysia. And they came from the oil palm seedlings from Ghana.
Yeah.
We had gone back under Kufo to listen to them and come and start the PSI. Do you know who dissolved the PSI?
Well, the PSI had issues.
Do you know who dissolved the PSI?
Who did?
NDC government.
But the PSI had issues. We
don't
want to go into that history.
Don't start talking about issues. Yeah. Because in your life, in your house, don't you have issues that come up every day?
Every government has its own policy objective.
So I'm just saying that they cancelled PSI.
Give me
all the things that equipment and machinery, agricultural machinery, they dumped it.
Give me your overall. Give me your overall verdict on the last 10 months of this government. I'm curious.
Now, PSI on oil palm resurrects under somebody's 24-hour economy. 16 years too late.
You mean the NDC is copying Kufuor's PSI?
You are saying it too.
I'm asking you.
I'm telling you.
You say it resurrected in another person's policy.
I'm telling you. But would that be the first time policies have? And I'll tell you. One district, one factory. The first thing this government did was that we have no budget for one district. We've cancelled the policy. Actually, the minister went to parliament to say we've cancelled the one district, one factory policy.
Yeah, they have.
Yes. I don't have a problem with that. This is the government that has come with a new vision. How would you achieve industrialization? So you go into the budget, and there's no talk about industrialization. How are you going to create jobs if there's no industrialization?
But it depends on how you define industrialization. This oil palm thing is industrialization.
Yes,
Industrializing
that's what I'm trying to tell you. So when you go back to one district, one factory, is the agro value chain, right? Not just growing the oil palm, but translating oil palm to other things to let people get employment. And that's where agro-industry comes in. Yeah. And you've cancelled. There are a lot of companies.
It is a different approach.
Wait. You might talk about different approach. I don't mind your approach.
You don't have to call it one district, one factory.
No, I'm not saying. Yeah. But in action, you have dissolved, you've cancelled the policy.
They have.
We didn't hear any new thing. So how then you go back to Parliament and get incentive support your industrialization agenda? When you came just 6 months, I give you another one. You had the minister saying that they didn't cater for the 150,000 teachers and nurses that will be coming out. In a certain policy, under a certain government, 110 hospitals were being built. And by 2027 or 2028, all those hospitals should have matured. You come and you say it's not your priority.
But they're still building. In the budget, they've made allocations for the
I'm happy when
The
you say
one
that,
district,
Evans.
one
But
the
I'm happy when you
hospitals.
say that. It's true. They made allocations for 10.
Yes,
For 10.
yes.
If we go by that same set, in 3 years ahead of that, 10 times 3, 30, 130. But in a certain vision, when you are training more doctors and nurses and teachers, and you are expanding, that we've had this COVID, and we realize that you can have money in your pocket, but if you don't have the hospital with the staff in, you have a problem. So every district in this country, decentralization, should get one district hospital, and we are going ahead. And you cancel that policy. You said you won't continue because the budgets and where the money coming off was set. It was known. You said you have cancelled it. I'm not going to make it is not my priority. But something called Bahama Cares. When you know that after 4 years, even when NDC inherits NDC, they wouldn't continue with Bahama Cares. They won't use that phrase Bahama Cares. But you don't do the hospitals. So you don't have places that, even when you can employ the 150,000 nurses and doctors, you don't have hospitals for them to go and work in. You see how it all ends up becoming a burden. So very soon, next year, the nurses who are being poured, who are coming out in droves, in numbers, the teachers who are coming, you said categorically, you can't accommodate them in the budget. So what are you doing? What is the alternative? Nothing. A government has started a rollout program for taking some of our nurses and our teachers outside the country to other developing countries. You say you stop that policy. What happens to the nurses meanwhile you are employing? So we're going to revisit graduate unemployment in another form, now without the name, but it's coming. It's coming because your budget did not make adequate provisions for things that matter.
I mean, before we wrap up, if you're scoring them out of 10, what would you give them?
Oh, probably 6.
Okay.
The government
just for the budget
is managing within the physical constraints of an inherited IMF program. It's not anything different.
But they have,
when next year,
they have they've
see,
restructured the VAT. They scrapped the COVID levy.
You had Guta.
All of them revenue handles that is important for the IMF program.
I wish I could discuss it.
That they restructured. They created the gold board.
You had Guta.
Yes, yes.
You had Guta about the VAT restructuring. So I'll go there. Guta is talking about it. I'll allow
Guta is generally happy. They're just not happy with the threshold, the registration threshold.
But I thought you said their policies have no issues. The policy that has not been
haven't said that.
The policy that has not been allowed to take,
Guta has one specific issue,
the policy,
which is a threshold.
The policy that has not even been allowed to roll out because the budget has not even been approved. You know that?
Not yet, yes.
Yes. They are even complaining. Now, it just tells you what stakeholder things were done.
For the record, Guta is happy with the restructuring. They are just not satisfied or happy with the threshold of 750,000.
You see. What are our friends for? We can agree. Guta, the headline, Guta is not happy. If somebody says, I'm happy with your family, but I have a problem with your mother. That's what Guta is saying. I'm happy. The whole VAT restructuring was predicated on one thing, the threshold. Look at the commentary the Minister of Finance said.
Not exactly. This is a whole restructuring.
No.
It's far more than the threshold.
No.
There is a COVID-19 that is gone, that is putting, according to the final 3.7 billion into people's pockets. It includes reducing the overall VAT tax rate from 21.9 to 20%. It was a more comprehensive package.
What was the COVID rate?
The COVID rate, I believe, was around. It translates to some 3.7 billion in the year in terms of what
percentage-wise. COVID was 1%.
Yeah.
Okay. So you remove COVID from VAT. Is that what they said? And how does it remove one from 21.9? Take minus 1 becomes 20.
But that is why
it's 20.9.
It's 21.9. That now effective VAT rate is now 20%.
20 point something.
It's 20% to be precise.
So if you take 1 out of 21.9, you don't get 20. But we'll come there.
That's why that's not the only thing that has gone into restructuring.
Do you realize that has been increased surreptitiously? Did you realize that?
You tell me.
The VAT calculation before that announcement included NHI and get fund levies. You know that?
That is
21.
also part of the review. So part of the review.
I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
Don't let's laugh and not see the reality. The 21.9 included a 2.5% VAT for national health insurance and 2.5% for Get Fund. That made it 5. And he said now he's removed them. He's not taking the levy. They will be on standalone. But VAT has now metamorphosed to 20. If you take 5 out of 21, it should bring you back to somewhere like 14, 16. Just look at it's in the detail. Oh. You said I've removed VAT, Get Fund, and COVID, NHIF from VAT. I've removed COVID from VAT because they all added up to the 21.9. And when you take those big sums, 2.5 plus 1, 6 out of 21.9 or 22, it should get you to about 16. Why is it 20?
So your point is?
My point is we have to look at the numbers very well. I don't understand it because
Okay,
I want it doesn't make
it's okay to say that, but not to conclude. You haven't concluded that.
You just said things that you didn't even.
Well, I'm just quoting what the budget said.
When he was talking about the VAT restructuring.
Yeah.
Everything
and the various components that make up the restructuring.
Wait, he said that 2015 under Mahama, the threshold was this. Because of how the economy has behaved.
It's moved from 200,000 to 750,000.
And that is exactly what Kuta is complaining about.
Yes, but that's one component of a restructured VAT.
The backbone of the VAT restructuring was the threshold difference.
That's how you see it?
No.
But in reality, there are other components in the restructured VAT. The people who were supposed to
clap for that was Kuta. Because if he said small and micro businesses, that's where Kuta falls.
Yeah. So
are you agreeing with me? If you say just that part, yes or no, so
that part of the restructured VAT addresses the Guta members, but there's also part of the as part of the restructure, because we've seen the AGI, we've seen the AGI,
we agree.
We see the AGI, they are very happy with the restructured VAT as it is now.
I haven't read the statement.
Well, I have hosted AGI. I have hosted the Ghana Chamber. No, I'm just quoting for you what the associations have said.
I agree with you, but
not my position
there.
Want to
listen to me. I'm saying that the whole VAT speech. Go and check that budget.
It was one line in it.
No, it wasn't one line.
It was a whole raft of things that was restructured against the comprehensive VAT restructure.
On the fact that he's increased the threshold to affect micro and small businesses. 99% of businesses in Ghana are small and medium micro enterprises.
But they are industries. They are. You represented the Guta.
I'm not represented.
And Guta yes said that
99% of the people who are going to benefit are in the small and medium scale micro industry. That is what he said. And I'm saying that he said he had done a fantastic increasing their VAT threshold. Those are that Guta. So bulk of those that it should affect are in Guta. And Guta is out to complain about the thing that you said they should be clapping for you.
And I'm saying that
that 1%.
I spoke to Mr. Bain himself, who is the president of Guta. He says he's happy. Yesterday, this is just last night. He's happy with the VAT restructuring. What they are not happy with specifically in the restructured VAT is the threshold, and they are in conversation with the government on that particular point.
I'm just saying that I'm Guta. You are industry, AGI. You are this. The VAT affects all of us. We are saying that we are happy that the threshold has come down. I'm saying that yes, we are happy. It comes from 21.9 to 20. Yeah. Let's say bulk 20. You remove 1.9. It's money. It goes in all our pockets. It's good. But the devil in the detail said, oh, I've taken VAT, I've taken Get Fund and Health Fund out of VAT. It will be on standalone. So you take 20 here. First, the total standalone was 21.9. You take 20 here. Now, when he goes back and says, okay, I have to pay my VAT, I have to pay my Get Fund, I have to pay my Health Fund, that's another 5%. We'll find out where that 5% is. I'm not going to talk about it today. But let's come back to that. The people who employ 90% of the people in the workforce are the small, medium, and micro industry in this country. And that of all the VAT structure, the one that was going directly, addressing their concern directly, is the VAT threshold. I'm not talking about the reduction that AGI is applauding, because it goes to everybody. But the threshold, the people that is going to affect, who can employ many more people and streamline their VAT things, communities, are saying that they are in consultation with you on that same thing. Isn't that a problem for you? So were they engaged before you came to make that announcement? Probably not. So I'm just saying that the budget, I said I'll give 6 over 10.
6 over 10, that's a pass.
A very good pass. A very good pass, 6 over 10, because I haven't seen anything new, and they are managing the physical constraints of which they have to operate under. They are benefiting from the debt restructuring. He said it. He said 95%. He's got a huge cut. Debt restructuring, profound gold and cocoa prices. Never in the history, 60 years, have we had cocoa at $8,000, $10,000, with some of the receipts of the fund, of the cocoa board. Ever. We've had it this year. We've had astronomical gold prices. When you have all these, I can only pray that it continues, because if it continues, it's good for all of us in the country. But I was thinking, I would hear that the monies we are making because of such good revenue inflows from gold and cocoa, we are translating it into value addition, such that it will create multiplicity of jobs. That in 3 years' time, our plan is not to export raw gold from Ghana. You know that in South Africa, we don't export Dory gold. So all the gold that leaves South Africa has the other value. I didn't hear that in the budget. I didn't hear that in the budget. I didn't hear that the government that came and for the first time decided that we are not going to buy, we are not going to go syndication, we're going to buy because of circumstance. Let me tell you, the IMF had constrained us to borrow the whole country, including cocoa board and energy sector bills. We couldn't borrow more than 50 million. So there was no way we could go to syndicate. We couldn't, because we signed that deal. So we had to be innovative to say, okay, even when we go, the money comes in January and things like that, and you take 10%, okay, we'll let the PBCs themselves buy it. So, and then we'll sell it spot. And wow, money has come plenty. It's good. But I want to hear that by the time cocoa prices fall again in 3 years' time or 2 years' time, Ghana will not be sending any raw beans out. Everything will be processed. After 100 years of cocoa, why can't we? I'm not expecting. I'm expecting that gold. Maybe we'll do something on Galamsey to prevent Galamsey. We are not going to export any Dory gold. Every gold will have to be processed here.
I mean, since you mentioned Galamsey, give me your quick thoughts on how it's resolved. What your old thoughts are. Everybody has a suggestion.
No, don't.
Do you have one?
Yes, of course. If I tell you here I don't have one, you go and play my tape when I was on platform and say, few moments later. No, I have one.
What's yours?
It pains me that 2 statements I'll make. And tell me if it's false. When the last tree dies,
the last man indeed die.
Ended for me, 100%. When the last tree dies, the last man what?
Dies.
Water is?
It's life.
So 2 things. And that's what NPP promised. No mining in forest reserves. No mining in water bodies. When the last tree dies, the last man dies. When there's no water, there's no life. And look at history of human development. Look at all the excavations that have been done in the world.
And your recommendation will be?
Okay. As soon as there's shortage of water, people die. Go and look at the Lake Chad. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, now there's no Lake Chad. So the people that lived in that ecosystem of Lake Chad would have to migrate, whether you like it or not. And so people are moving down south. Not because because their ecosystems can't maintain life. There's no water. There's no tree. That's the definition of a desert. Who lives in a desert? Nobody. We can't turn a tropical rainforest country into a desert by our own inactions and actions.
So what do we do?
So first, we said it. The way the gold prices are, nobody can be able to stop it. It is called gather them and sell. Right? But the way we are exploiting it now is what is killing us. So there should be a huge stakeholder conference and say, yes, we will let you mine the gold. We can't stop mining the gold. But we will designate areas you can mine from, for starters. And it will not include water bodies, it will not include forests. The Geological Survey departments and the Mineral Commission would cut out areas in Ghana that we can do small-scale mining. We are going to train the people who are going to get small-scale mining so that they do what we call responsible mining. We are going to make sure we get you certification that the gold is coming from responsibly mined efforts, vertically mined efforts, right? So we are going to give you the right equipment. Ghana is over excavated. Over a night, you clear 500 excavators, 5,000 excavators in 10 months. No, it don't help us. It don't help us. We can only allow the excavators in areas that we all designated in this country that, yes, we can do Galamsey here. And when we finish, we can all put our minds to restoration. Right? There must be alternative livelihoods. So those who are mining and those who are reclaiming, they should go hand in hand. So those are some of the things NPP said they would do. Then we said that, you see, in the construct of Ghana, we have missed certain things. And we have to look at it. We have to involve communities. And we have to involve landowners. If I have a cocoa farm, the land doesn't belong to me. It belongs to maybe my family or the chiefs or the people in that area. But I've got to get the land for cocoa farm. Right? As now, if you want to give the land to somebody, you say, when you take your produce, then you leave. If you give the land to the miner who has brought even a certificate from the Minerals Commission that they said you can try and mine here, what happens to those who are living on that land? Their daily cocoa tree lasts for 40 years, 50 years. You cut it down and you excavate once and you deplete the soil. There's no cocoa tree. There's no revenue for the person who was farming there. So we have to evoke it differently. I believe that, yes, government, all mineral resources is given to the president. I'm not going to change that. But the mineral resources, if it's happening on the land belongs to somebody. It belongs to a community. It belongs to a family. It belongs to a traditional area. Insofar as the mine will be on the land of a certain family traditional area or something, the lease for the mining, the lease for the land, not the mining, no, the lease for the land should be signed by the people so that they see the benefits coming to them. Right? The government, yes, you own the mine. But if you don't cut the trees or you don't excavate, will you get to the gold?
I mean, the popular...
So we need to think through it.
One of the popular views is that we should impose a state of emergency. The president says he's hesitating to do that. He doesn't believe that that's the way to go. Well, where do you stand on that?
Is there near Kumpa? Did I hear the president apologize for himself saying he's going to impose a state of emergency?
Well, he said he's never said that in the past.
Is that true?
Well, we haven't found any. We haven't found any evidence yet. You would have known that fact check. We haven't found any evidence yet where he directly said he will impose a state of. Although the people around him have said so. But where do you stand on that? Should we impose a state of emergency?
We impose a state of emergency. People are fighting and killing lives and killing human lives. We impose state of emergency. Yeah. We don't take those state of emergency even to Parliament. So my brother Muntaka signs that there's tension in Boko and that he has extended state of emergency in Boko. It doesn't mean when you impose a state of you are going to kill all the people in Boko. It doesn't mean that way.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. So the devil is always in the detail. Where are we imposing that state of emergency? And for what purpose are we imposing?
So should we impose for Galamsey purposes?
If the government should do a stakeholders conference and let us all, we need to think about it. because it's going to affect. It is an existential threat to me and you.
Yeah.
We have mined gold in this country for over 400 years, but never have we gotten to the stage that we are in. We are being threatened by European Union that our land is being what? The heavy industry chemicals are going and metals are going into our food substances. So very soon, if we are not lucky, they will not allow our fast food start to leave the country. Our water bodies are polluted. There's no fish living there again. We can't drink the water. Ghana Water Company, the manager that started this whole drama in Central Region, it's worse now. Dams have been shut.
You think he started it?
Oh, he was the first person who raised that alarm. He started it. Maybe he was a whistleblower, you might define. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I remember that statement, though. 14,000 NTU and sparked an outrage.
Yes, part of outrage that we never did. But we haven't seen any policy framework that will address the problem.
You haven't?
If you tell me which one.
Well, the government is deploying permanent military bases. Not a blue water guard. That's one. But there's permanent military bases that they've announced that will be set up. They're zoning out the areas now. The president announced that.
I thought you said they are doing something. Doing means an act of something. It's not announcements.
Yeah, but in deploying, they have NIMOS, which is out there.
But there was
raiding.
Under the previous government, there was a military component.
Well, but you said they don't do anything. They are NIMOS that is out there.
So it's not new. NIMOS is not new. It's a different name. Blue water gas is not new. They were inaugurated under Nanado. So I'm just saying that it didn't work. So if you come and repeat it with a different name, it won't work. Never have we seen communities attack because of Galamsey. Haven't we seen a year? Haven't we seen people killed? Haven't we seen soldiers threatened? By the way, they were bundled away. And you say, was it the NIMOS leader himself? Was it the EPA director who ran her? I mean, the one who said you was coming to dechemicalize water. Yeah. Didn't you see her running for her life? I'm just saying, all those acts had never existed. So it tells you that even if you are doing something, it is not working.
But since you're on that, I'll be remiss not to ask you, because your government was in power for 8 years. Why didn't you fix it then?
Let's go to the fact again. Between 2017 and 2020, check your records. Nanado imposed a ban. That's not a state of emergency. He banned small-scale mining for over a year. He did all the water bodies all turned. People acknowledged it. Till they got to election, 2020.
And then you dropped the ball.
We didn't drop the ball. Somebody went around the country telling that when I come, I'll release all Galamseyers.
That shouldn't be a reason for you. Because the man who put his political career on the line.
You might say, Ivan.
You shouldn't move him.
You might say, if you are not believing that we should just talk for talking's sake.
No.
And we believe that we should talk to effect change, to bring lasting impact. Then we should acknowledge that between 2017 and 2020, what Nanado did was phenomenal.
True.
We
the
dropped
facts
the ball.
The
temerity
birds
dropped the ball. Temerity is not just, you don't achieve it through the air. It's a policy that is revealed. So we dropped the ball. Why? Because the government lost its moral standing in the face of Ghanaians. Because some Ghanaians wanted to hear that we will continue Galamsey as we are doing it. And there was a political party that ran around all mining communities. So when we come, there are videos. I hope you know that. You are just saying fact-checking. When we come, you continue.
That's a fact.
And they won elections based upon that. Why? They didn't win a majority, but it led to a hung parliament in all intents and purposes.
My point to you is, for a president who has said, I will hang my political career
he lost it.
That shouldn't have forced him to drop the ball.
He hanged his political career, and he paid for it miserably at the polls. Acknowledge that NPP lost virtually its majority in parliament because of this fight on Galamsey Evans. We lost, check, Kutakwa, Pristia, Bogoso, all the mining communities. We lost. Sizable number.
I need to wrap up.
Before you wrap up.
I need to wrap up on something.
You just had in the last 2020. We just had, I can have you 4 hours with you.
Yeah.
You just had in the last election, 2024. A running mate went specifically to a mining community called Takwa. and said, we are not cancelling Galamsey. If we cancel, what job would you all be doing? Papa, where you we've heard all this. And NEC won again massively in mining communities. And that is when the president, who says he never talked about state of emergency, talked about, I'll release everybody who has been put in prison.
There's a gun amnesty to those who have been arrested. Yes.
I don't mind you granting amnesty, but put in place things that will prevent people from going through the same process. Now, Galamsey has become an issue that is really subjecting Ghana's gold to extra scrutiny. Do you know that? In 10 months of this year, Evans, Bank of Ghana has bought 66 tons of gold under the Gold for Reserve program. But that is not true, because only 6.5 has translated into our reserves. So it means no money this year was allocated from Ministry of Finance to Gold Board. So it means Bank of Ghana is financing gold purchases. Not under Gold for Reserve, they claim, but under Gold for everything. So we are accumulating dollars based upon the purchasing program of Bank of Ghana, not under the Gold for Reserve. So you ask yourself, there are only 2 mines in Ghana, apart from the large-scale mines, that are doing responsible ethical mining with certificates. So where is Bank of Ghana getting its gold from? And it's becoming a topical issue. I don't want, let me say it here, Ghana's gold banned. But there are interests that if you are not careful, they'll ban your gold because they don't want your gold to change your economic trajectory in this country. You know that? They don't want it. So we have to know that under the jackets that we live in. Any attempt to get your economic independence, if it's not well thought through, then you start hearing the bans. Me and you know, if Ghana falls into a ban because we are encouraging, state is encouraging illegal mining, irresponsible mining, unethical mining, what will happen to our economy? Everything we have gained in the last few years will peter to insignificance.
Do I hear you say that the Gold Board is indirectly encouraging illegal mining?
Because the gold they are buying, they can't tell us the source of the gold. That's all I'm saying. With only 2 small-scale mines that have ethical, responsible mining certificates. So the 66 tons of gold Bank of Ghana has bought, where is it for?
What's your best guess?
My guess is that the government must come with the frameworks that will allow the millions of Ghanaians that are employed not to be affected by a ban. If they can ban your food because you have added Sudan 3, it will affect thousands and hundred thousands of people. You know what happened to oil? Palm oil.
Happens to oil.
It happens to palm oil.
It's been happening to
because people were dying.
Our vegetables and all that.
People were dying the palm oil to make it redder. And the Europeans picked up on it and banned it. It's called Sudan 3. Check the records. So I want Ghanaians who are employed to be ably employed, to mine sustainably, to mine in designated areas, to mine with things that enhance the environment, not degrade the environment.
Yeah, and
so that our water bodies will not go extinct.
You've articulated that very clearly. I want to wrap up now by circling back to you and to the NPP,
no
you and MPP, and in this segment, I'm looking forward, but also to look forward, you need to look back slightly. You've assessed why you believe the party lost, but you were the running mate. In your reflections, what would you say was Dr. Martin Opoku Pempe's own role in that defeat?
I think my role has been public, right? You started this conversation by saying you have been misunderstood, you have been misquoted.
I haven't asked that question yet.
You haven't asked, but
I will ask in this. I'll ask in this string of questions.
Before.
Now I've let you into my thought process.
Yes, before the cameras were switched on.
Yeah.
That was the issue.
Yeah.
And this is the same question you've asked in. I said the Napo gaffes has been public, probably very well misunderstood. But I can tell you one. I can tell you 2. I can admit 3. 1, I said Mokwame and Nkrumah. They took it out of context. They took it out of context because just Google. In just 2023, 2024, the NDC organizer, Yami, had made a public statement that President Mahama was better than the President Nkrumah in development wise. Check, Google it, check. A chief, common chief in Greater Accra, President Mahama visited him before campaigning and said, Ababia Magana, why are they check Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana? Well published. And my statement was that in the 8 years of Nanado's government, the schools, the roads, the things that has been built, Kwame Nkrumah comes nowhere near. And the evidence is there, but at that time you can't go into the evidence. So I made a statement on Kwame Nkrumah. I subsequently had to go to Nkrofo and speak to the chiefs there and explain the context of the statement.
You actually apologized.
Yes. And explain that statement. Because in politics, if somebody misunderstands, misquotes, or you allow your communication to be misread or to be misunderstood, you have to own it. So I own it. And that is why I issued a statement. Not that the context was wrong. Not that the context was wrong. You support Manchester United?
I do.
I support Manchester United, so we can't use it as a... You support Accra House of Folk? Or Kotoko? Okay, so I'm a die-hard fan of Kotoko. So if I'm teasing Oli people and I said, Mo Oli for, I'm not really insulting Olympics. So I'm just upping Kotoko for because we need Kotoko ni. Right? So it was totally misunderstood. But it generated a lot of backrow. But I would always ask and Nkrumah is God figures. I apologize to them. But they should go and read Kwame Nkrumah's last days from Guinea. Look how he described his own CPP. He said the CPP was dead. That's the Kwame Nkrumah's own writing. So we don't say these things out of lack of respect. You know me. I have friends everywhere because of respect I have for the human being. That is my core value. The second statement people said I made was that God sleeps. You even ridiculed it on one of your shows. But if you are a Christian and you believe in the Bible and you know the Trinity, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, and you know that God made himself manifest and came to live amongst us for 33 years through a divine birth. You believe the divine birth? And Jesus came out of the divine birth. And it was the same Bible that said, when there was a storm, the apostles went to Jesus. He was fast asleep. And asked him, Master, don't you care that we are perishing? And I say, God sleeps. Say, hey, he has said something sacrilegious. But God as man, are you telling me 33 years he never slept? Or you don't believe that God came as a man? So you don't believe salvation? Or you don't believe repentance? I believe it. I believe that God manifested himself as our Savior, Lord Christ, came to live as among men, was a man. That is why on the last Garden of Gethsemane, he prayed to God. He was sweating. Said, when the time was near, said, God, I wish this cup passed over me. Because he was feeling the pain that me and you are feeling. The pain. But let's leave that one aside. I can explain. But it was twisted. Even today, some people will comment on something I've said and say, the man who says God sleeps. Tell me Christ was not God. So yes, the context, people misrepresented and said the thing. I want to fast forward the third one. Which one was it? Which one would you say again?
Right, you tell me.
I don't know.
You said the three gaps.
Yes, maybe the three. Come on. Anybody can remind me?
Yeah, anybody who...
What? What else? What? You see, I've been in this space.
As those two were very well publicized.
I've been in this space.
You think those gaps play the role in the defeat?
It allowed me to be easily caricatured. I've been in the limelight of politics since 2001, from vetting, from parliament, from scrutiny. If even somebody can say I've never made a gaffe or never made a mistake, it would be rather wrong. These same statements.
You think those made you human?
I'm very, very human, more human than you think I am.
Do you think it
I
also
just,
made
I
you?
just,
Do you think it also made you a liability to the ticket?
I don't know. It depends upon who is speaking. What I'm trying to say is that this same statement is probably made worse. But if you are there, the chief people will say you're so takrache and who you are saying. What you say? Because people said there are comments that I don't even want to repeat, and it went away with everything. We've lived in this country. Which president said Nkrumah gave us nothing but a flag and an anthem? Somebody said it. It was a president, a sitting president. So, but I'm just saying that the gaps don't make you. Listening and reforming and respecting, and building trust, empowering people, excellence in service is what matters.
Have you reformed?
As we evolve, don't we?
Have you evolved?
Yes.
From what?
Look,
2024 to what? 2025?
Last 3 months, I've stopped eating my favorite food, bread. The last 1.5 years, I've stopped eating bread. So my tummy has slimmed.
I can see that.
Yeah. I've stopped eating oil, unless it's cold pressed, unsaturated oil. I've stopped eating meat. That's my favorite. So,
but as far as the public perception of you in 2024 to
if
2025,
my physical being evolves, my spiritual and my soul too should evolve. I should listen.
You've been tagged as arrogant. Has that evolved?
I'm not sure you would say that about me, would you?
Well, I've met you here. You seem like a very nice gentleman. But that was a perception.
No, that was a framed up position of a political party that went and did.
Are you arrogant?
No, of course not. Of course no. That was a group, a SWOT analysis done, and say if you tag him with the word arrogant, Ghanaians will dislike him.
And why do you think Ghanaians bought into that then?
Because Ghanaians politics is about perception, isn't it? But we have to make it about responsibility, not perception.
So what has evolved about you from 2024 to 2025?
I'm still in the process of learning, respecting, going back to the community, listening to the people.
You said respecting.
Yes.
You said respecting, and I caught on that because I remember very well when you went to Otumfuo for the outdooring, and Otumfuo made a comment. I remember that very clearly, and you brought this up actually with the use of respect. And Otumfuo said, admonished you that go out there and show respect.
He never said I don't respect.
He never said that. He said go out there.
He knows me. I'm his son.
Yes, and that when people come and tell him, yes,
he knows it's not true.
And then he ends by saying, "Go out and prove to the people."
Because he was talking about perception.
Exactly, and then he told that to your people. Said, "Well, Otumfuo was obviously aware of the way you've been branded. You think that you are guilty in the branding too? Maybe the way you have carried yourself about in public life may have given credence to that.
I brand myself as arrogant? Where I come from, if you know where
maybe
I come
you
from,
just lived your life and people.
If you know where I come from, and you know how I grew up and where I lived and how I grew up till I finished the university, I keep telling people. People think that I'm uber rich or wealthy. No. I just manage myself well. And the first thing that I was brought up to do is learn to respect everybody. I respect people. In my household, there are all manner of people there. There are all manner of people who don't speak my language, people who don't come from where I come from. The only thing that my family demands is respect, humility in service, and service excellence.
So why didn't you think that this perception is so entrenched then?
I think people did a SWOT analysis and said, if you label him this way...
So your opponents?
I won't mention, but they know themselves.
People within your own ranks?
I said I won't mention. But if you could demonstrate what they are saying with fact, then you can believe that. But when people said, I heard that, where did you hear it from? From somebody said it. You haven't experienced it? No. And how are you saying, somebody said it? Who is it? So
has all that changed you in any way?
No. It hasn't changed me in any way, but it's made me more listening.
Okay.
That's why I said I'm reconnecting to the grassroots. I'm excelling the service. I wish you could say that you did disastrously in the Ministry of Education. That would affect me badly. I wish you'd say your tenure in energy was bad. Then I get worried. So
you've done three things that I started my intro with that were big. Education, energy, running mate. It's without doubt that on those two, you're very proud. Even in this interview, you have mounted a strong defense, at least of education. How would you assess running mate? Are you proud? just as you were with education?
I think I'll say this. Every presidential candidate who has mounted the seat in Ghana since 92 has always been given a chance and a chance and a chance, even after failures at the general elections. Why? Because there's a lesson of humility in failure. Just as there's a lesson in excellence in failure. We learn through failure more than through success.
That's true. I agree with that philosophy, yes.
So everything somebody says, you listen, you do back, you reflect, you take the good bits out of it, you move on with it, you decrease the bad bits about it. So now, and I'm communicating, I'll communicate with more clarity. I wouldn't assume that everybody will understand the context. I'll look at the audience and do better. So that is it. But my self-preparation to put me where I am is what matters to me. Because everybody can be entrusted into any position. But have you prepared yourself for it? And that was a perfect planning, the best preparation. So we have to organize ourselves mentally, organize ourselves spiritually, organize ourselves socially and how we are reacting to render more service. Because if you don't learn to serve, you cannot be a good leader. So even if I've had fault as early as I am, I have to thank God that my mind has been drawn to it, and I changed. People started killing people, but they ended up not killing people.
Just to clarify, so you see your running mate as one of the challenges, I'm just putting it mildly, one of the failures of your adult life?
Not at all. Okay. Not at all.
How would you categorize that?
Do you think that if I'm examining my time in education, there are things I will do differently?
You will definitely. You're human.
Do you think when I go to energy, there are things that I will not have?
You will definitely.
I emphasize more.
You're a human being.
But so that is why.
How would you categorize?
That is what I said. When you are a striker, because the striker scores the goals. Me and you, we love strikers, right? You see some opponent's team strikers and we wish they were part of our team, right? But a striker can also have an injured leg because somebody gave him a killer pass. You know a killer pass?
Yeah.
The pass when you try to score a goal,
you get injured.
You get injured.
Yeah.
And when he goes to sit outside, he has not lost his acumen. He has not lost his ability. He has not lost anything. But he can perform. Right? What does he do? He heals. He uses that time to reflect. He gets back into the winning mentality, listens more to the coach, watches the passes and analyzes the person who's giving him the pass very well, and then gets back in the field and starts scoring goals.
You want to get back to the field and start scoring goals?
I can't wait.
Define the field. What do you mean in the real terms? This is figurative. When you say get back to the field, start scoring, I'm interested. What field are you talking about?
Politics.
Okay.
I've defined myself in the last 16 years in politics. And you talked about ambition. Yes, but I'm not so much. Ambition doesn't drive me as much as responsibility.
Okay.
Getting to the top is not difficult.
Staying there.
Staying there. And staying there might not be as difficult as being impactful when you get up there. So lots of people can become presidents. And the records they leave after they've left office. Because whatever you do, you would leave office. We go back and examine and see whether your time, not necessarily even when you were there, but your time was helpful or impactful or not. So that is the
so more specifically, do you have presidential ambitions?
No. I'm not
Zero?
contesting. I'm not going to contest 2028 elections. I'm not. So I don't have any presidential ambitions. I live within reality as well.
No.
I don't have.
For now you don't have
presidential.
But long time you should not have. Every politician ultimately.
What is your favorite car?
LX600.
Do you have one?
Lexus. No, I don't.
Do you own an LL600?
Of course not.
But you wish one day you drive an LL600?
Definitely.
Even if a friend gives it to you to drive, it's good.
Well, if I can, make a turn.
But if you can have it on your own, it's better.
Of course.
So, you work towards LS600. Would you go and kill for LS600?
Absolutely not.
You do the hard work to let you earn enough to buy your LS6. Right? You make you proud?
If I work hard for it,
Yes.
definitely.
You don't go and steal and buy an LS6.
No.
So you use character, you use integrity, you work smart to make yourself money to buy the LS6. Right? Is that bad? Is that bad?
In relation to my question,
Your
what
question.
do you
I
mean?
mean, is that bad?
I'm trying to.
I'm saying
to
you
the
want
point
an
is,
LR600.
yes,
You are
yes.
saying.
Yeah.
You are saying.
It's not bad if you work hard for it again. It's just
So I don't think I'll be victimized if I even have an ambitious vision. And I said, I'm going to work, I'm going to learn to serve to get there.
But you haven't defined. I told you my
something?
vision. I want to own a less
you know what is up there?
Service and leadership. What's
you
that?
know what is here?
I think it's the same because it's listening to
It is one of the Adikra symbols. And when I chose it as my lovely Adikra symbol, I used to use one when I was in education. And it was called Obin Kebi, Obin Kebi. I'm minding my business. If you don't touch me, I don't touch you.
Sometimes when they touch you, you can even turn the other cheek.
I'm not sure about that, but
you quote the Bible so accurately. That's what Jesus says you should.
The Bible says, "Suffer a witch not to live."
Oh, that's another part of the Bible.
Okay,
you know we can all quote different parts of the Bible to make our case.
I'm quoting what is you too.
Yeah, but your point is,
when I decided to go there, a lot of people saw it and thought it was a cult symbol.
Yeah,
hey, Napo has joined one of the obscure lodges. They didn't know that it was an Adikra.
Yeah, Illuminati.
They said, that was no wonder. But it's an incredible.
Okay.
That the service and leadership does not capture the essence of the symbol. It says, if you want to lead, you must learn to serve.
Back to my question, though. That's
the question.
Do you want to be president?
My service. I'm doing my service. And I want excellence in service. I want you to see me as a whole, hi, bro. And when I pass, you tell your daughter, your son, you are with them. Grow up to be like him. It was a fantastic education, honestly.
So now you are 7.
Wait. Yes, that's what I
tell. But even
you tell her,
being
you tell your daughter.
Service.
Something happened. I was going to Manchester recently, and I was talking.
You're not going to Old Trafford, were you?
I've been there.
Okay.
Theatre of Dreams.
Yes.
And I bought the latest.
People in the background here
they
are
don't
jealous.
understand.
They don't understand. It's okay.
You see, when you excel, people don't understand.
Yeah.
When you excel, everybody thinks it's easy for them to do. So when people are looking at you and you're doing your work fantastically well at Joy FM, they say, I can't grab it for channel. I can't grab it channel. Yes, but come and sit behind the mic. Even to gather your thoughts to ask a question is difficult. But when you master it and you've mastered it as an art, it's part of you. Everybody thinks it's easy. But if you don't learn to serve well and you are given the mic, you will flop.
I mean,
I'm just saying that. I'm in the time of my service. I'm in a period of service.
Just to say, I want to return to my question. When I asked you, do you have president? You said no.
No, because there's a presidential election going on in my party. How can I say yes?
Okay. So after the presidential election?
There's no presidential election. So how can I say yes?
Okay. So after the presidential election?
There's no presidential election anymore. It's done. It's dusted. And I have to learn to serve the person who comes out of the flag bearer. And I hope it's going to be Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
So your heart is so in that ring for him?
Yes. But no matter who.
That's very loyal.
Oh, okay. One of the most abused words. That's why I've never used it.
I know.
It's
but
that's very loyal.
Because
it doesn't make it exciting.
Considering the fall.
I'm dedicated. I'm committed in the service of my party and who emerges to sit on that elephant. And I know from the history and everything, it's going to be Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. He's the most marketed. Actually, he's the only living presidential candidate NPP has ever had. And I don't became a president.
Do you still want to be his running mate if he wins?
That is a matter for him.
But you won't turn it down if he's offered to you?
Definitely not. I'm in service.
Would you lobby for it?
Nobody lobbies for a running mate.
Everybody does.
No.
You did.
People might pretend that people want to sell.
You did lobby for it.
No. If you like, ask Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia anytime you meet him for an interview. I know you get the chance. This guy, did he lobby? No. In fact, before... So
you money your own business? And they offered you? You want me to believe that?
Yes, believe this one, Evans. Before he nominated me, I've been to his house twice in 16 years that I've known him. I'm a shy person, so I don't go out a lot.
You shy?
Extremely shy. How many times have you met me outside by working a conference?
I mean, I don't play in your circles.
Okay, people will see. If I was in my circles, you see me all over social media. I'm not. I'm a reserved person in that sense. I only prepare myself to excel if I'm given a job to task to do. That I'm always doing. Because my service should inure to the person I'm serving. As for the abuse word loyalty, I hope it gets out of our lexicography and our political discipline. You know why? Because it has always been that if you are against the leader, you are not loyal.
Okay. Yeah. So as far as Bawumia,
the word loyalty is a phrase in the story in the Bible that was said by Jesus, told by Jesus. And it was talking about him when he said, I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep knows me. Right? That is the meaning of loyalty. It's reciprocity. It's being committed to both sides of the equation.
Is Bawumia committed to you?
In what sense? I've worked with him for a number of years.
Does he still? He obviously trusted you. That's why he gave you. Does he still trust you?
Yes, he trusts me. The fact that he trusts me, the fact that he's dedicated to me, the fact that he's loyal to me, doesn't mean he should choose me as a running mate.
Yeah.
I say, of all my flag bearer friends who are contesting, Dr. Bawumia is the most marketed. He has said, if we say that 21st century is an ideas century, he has demonstrated a lot of ideas. Even his opponents have come around to accept. Before the elections, you heard somebody say, digitalization is not food. But the person comes into government and says, we have to continue digitalization. You heard it. He has demonstrated knowledge. He's demonstrated wisdom. He's demonstrated brilliance. He's demonstrated through his public service excellence. If I, Matthew Poko was to choose one person, he showed that he's not corrupt. If I, Matthew Poko should choose one person, the whole Ghanaians give me their mandate and choose one person for us as president.
You choose
I'll choose Dr. Bawumia.
And just to wrap up, post January primary 2026, you have one person who will be the figurehead for your party. Everybody else will have to. You say whoever emerges, you would support, although you believe Dr. Bawumia should be. At which point it becomes who is the running mate, and you said you won't turn that down if it comes. Just to be clear, Napo is still in the political game. You're not done. You're not finished. You have ambition still to serve in whatever position that's given to you, including the running mate, and ultimately one day the president.
Your last, I don't know, stanza or verse or word or thing. It doesn't come in the narration. It's so out of your narration.
You agree with everything else, with the exception of ultimately the president.
It's like somebody saying, Cretans are thieves. All Cretans are thieves. I'm a Cretan, but I'm telling you the truth. Which one is the truth?
You tell me.
The thieves or the Cretans or the I am. So what you're saying is that in politics you have to have an ambition. But I'm saying that there's something better than ambition. That is responsibility.
Yeah.
There's something better than ambition. There's excellence in service. There's something that is better than ambition. That is excellence in service. There's something better than that. That is character. There's something better than that. That is integrity. There's something better than that. Commitment. There's something better than that. Dedication. I am dedicated. I am committed. I have put myself, everything, in the service of the new patriotic party. Whosoever it is who is on the elephant, I served. I served dutifully, not in any public space under President before. I served fantastically as opposition member of parliament. I hope I served very well under Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo. I hope it has accrued to me an experience that if I'm nominated again as the vice presidential candidate or the running mate or whatever position whoever comes wants me to be, I will avail myself to the service of my party.
Will you campaign for Bawumia ahead of the primary?
I've been campaigning a lot.
For him?
Yes.
Okay.
Who else can I campaign for? I can't keep quiet. Can I? It's the height of irresponsibility to keep quiet.
Okay.
Because you see, if you live somewhere and you know what is good, and you refuse to tell people that, then that's doing something wrong to yourselves and to your community. I cannot be part of NPP as a flag bearer race is going on, and I don't have a preference. And I say, no, I don't have a preference. No, I have a preference. I went to a school and I went to a house that is called Primus Inter Pares. The best among equals.
I know that's true.
Private college.
And my final question before we wrap up. Yeah, my final question before we wrap up. Running mate 2024, ultimate assessment, asset, liability. What would you say?
One word?
One word. Asset. Liability.
Asset.
That is Dr. Matthew Opoku Pempe. I've enjoyed this conversation.
When is the next one?
We should set a date.
Definitely.
We should.
And you have a producer that won't let us sleep.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to release it.
I think from henceforth, I'll set a date with yourself.
You cut out of the equation.
Enough.
Yeah.
She's tormented. Yeah. But if you lead me to God, why should I come back to you?
That's a good one.
That is why the pastors don't lead us to God. They lead us to themselves.
Well, that's a whole different conversation. If you start, we are not going to end. But that is Dr. Matthew Opoku Pempe, former running mate to the Bawumia Education Energy Minister. Grateful. All the best.
Thank you.
And the rest of evening.